What is the creepiest phone call, text message, etc. that you have ever received? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. From an unknown number, I received this as a text message. I am in the act. Turns out they meant the ACT, as in the location Australian Capital Territory, and it was an old friend with a different phone number, not a mysterious serial murderer. When I was little, like 10 or 11, my parents left me in charge of my younger brother, 6 or 7, so they could go shopping. I always had strict instructions to keep the door locked, and if someone called the landline, the only phone we had back then, 90s kid, never let the caller know we were home alone. So the phone rings, and I answer it politely, and the voice on the other end was a deep male voice who demanded to speak with my mom. When I said she wasn't available, he said, "Well, where is she?" And I said, "Oh, in the shower." And he said, "Go get her." And I said, I can't," starting to get really flustered. He wouldn't let up. Finally, he said, "Let me talk to your dad." I said the same thing. He's not available. And when he questioned me, I said, he's mowing the lawn. I then got freaked out and hung up. The phone rang right away. I picked it up, and his voice was angrier, more insistent. "Listen, I need to talk to your mom or dad. Can I just take a message?" I pleaded. "They'll call right back." And he started demanding that I put them on the phone. I hung up again on him. My brother was watching the whole thing, and when the phone rang like right away, we both started crying. I let the answering machine pick up, and his voice was even creepier, even angrier. I don't remember what he said because I think I blacked out in fear. I was completely terrified. My brother and I clutched each other and ran upstairs to my parents' room. The guy kept calling and calling, but didn't leave any more messages. In my kid mind, he called for hours straight, but I'm not sure. I just know my parents came home to find us upstairs. I seem to remember my mom picking up the phone and laughing. Apparently it was an old college friend of hers, and he was just messing with us kids. She laughed it off, and it wasn't really ever mentioned again. Still freaks me out to remember it. If it was her friend, that's an effed up thing to do to a couple of kids left home alone, especially if he knew we were home alone. I came back from a 5-day camping trip, and when we hit phone reception, I received the usual barrage of texts and notifications. I received one from my oldest brother, which was basically his suicide note, telling me his passwords, etc. and what to do. It absolutely broke me, as it was sent 3 days beforehand. Thankfully, he failed at the attempt. Several years have gone by, and he is happy and busy raising his 2 kids by himself. I will never forget it. In the end, it wasn't really creepy, but since it took a while to figure out what had happened, it was hella creepy for a while. Someone once texted my landline by accident. We weren't used to mobile phones, which resulted in an automated call where Robot recited the words, "See you soon," with no context. I got a voicemail at 3 a.m. that was just a man whispering, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." As a premise, I've never told anyone I have a Reddit account in my life, so I have no idea who this could have been. With that being said, someone who knows me in real life found my former Reddit account, which is why I have this account now. This person kept replying to my comments, mentioning my real name, my birthday, and even my occupation. The creepiest one, however, was when this person also sent me a message giving way too many details about my life, where I went to school, my favorite sports teams, my favorite movies, etc., and told me to stop using Reddit. The only reason I deleted my account and took a break from Reddit is because I wanted to make sure the creep was gone. So far on this account, the creep hasn't found me yet. The Reddit account looked like a throwaway account, and I can't remember the username. It was entirely made up of numbers, and was something along the lines of 575-626-2498 or something similar to that. Joined a Discord server with some guys I had met after joining a new school hoping to make new friends. One of them recited my full name, all of my paternal relatives up to my grandfather, including the deceased, and my exact address. To this day, I don't know how he got it, but the other guys told him to knock it off and delete the messages. The guy did. I didn't become friends with that guy. My cousin, someone I considered one of my closest friends, committed suicide a few years ago. She was in another country at the time. Her and I would text back and forth and then respond when we had the time. Only after I got the news of her death and went to check our text logs did I see that she had looked at our texts right before she killed herself. It was like she wanted one last look. I got a picture from a random number about 10 years ago. It was a woman in her bra and underwear taking a selfie in a mirror. Not creepy on its own, but creepy because the woman looked identical to my wife, girlfriend at the time. But it wasn't my wife. There were very tiny differences. It made me insecure for about a month before I finally asked my wife if it was her, and she said, "What the F?" and showed me a picture she received from a phone number identical to the one that sent me the pic, except phone number was one number off. Anyway, she received a picture of a dude that looked almost identical to me, taking a selfie in a mirror with only underwear on. Totally bizarre. Both phone numbers never answered calls or texts from anyone who tried. I work for a law enforcement dispatch center. During my phone room training years ago, had a guy call in saying he was going to kill every officer he sees and that he has sex with little kids often. He was very descriptive, probably just some psycho looking for a reaction, but that one stuck with me. Someone wrote their A name in the bathroom mirror at my house. I didn't know it was there until it was fogged up after a shower. I just got out and the name Emma was written on the mirror. Thing is, I lived alone at the time and didn't know anyone by that name and didn't recognize it as a friend of a friend's name either. I don't believe in the paranormal, but I definitely thought I was at the start of a horror movie that night. Our landline number was 1 digit's difference from the doctor's surgery in the next village. We used to get a lot of old folk calling at 8 a.m. trying to get an appointment. One time we got a call from a desperate, cracking voice wheezing, "Nurse! Nurse, help me, I'm on the floor. I fell down last night. Nurse! Nurse, my catheter fell out. Help! Help!" He couldn't say his name, where he lived, he just kept pleading. I had to call the doctor's surgery to give them the phone number so they could check the records and find the poor guy's address and get an ambulance. I think he must have had dementia too, but it was awful to listen to. We disconnected the landline after that. Had a voicemail message once that said, "Hi, my name. We really need to talk. Don't be mad, but your boyfriend got me pregnant. Call me back." Came from a private number, so I couldn't call it back. Also, I'd been single for about 5 years at that point. Still don't know who it was. Super not funny. Someone overseas hacked the public school system where I worked and sent really disturbing messages to dozens of parents, listing their kids' names, addresses, teachers, along with super disturbing and graphic death threats. As you can imagine, everyone was terrified. School was canceled for a couple of days. The FBI got involved. If I recall correctly, the hackers were looking for a ransom. I'm not sure if they got it. I didn't get one of the messages, but as a parent, it would have just wrecked me. This wasn't creepy per se, just violent and bad. In the late 90s, got a call in the middle of the night. Some BBS psyop in the same message network as me called to inform me that he and a bunch of buddies were in a car on their way to me to beat me up with baseball bats and then to disembowel and kill me. I called his brother, who I knew, and told him his brother was off his meds again. I got a new number, and it belonged to some grandmother, I think. I would usually get the odd text, such as a weird poem or family life tidbit, ton of missed calls and voicemails. One night around 12 to 1 a.m., I got a text saying, "Come outside. I know you're there. Come out or I'll come in." It was creepy AF because I've always ignored and deleted the text chats to not clutter my chats. So it just looked like a random creepy text, lol. Didn't happen to me exactly, but one day I ran into my ex in the mall and she wanted to talk to me. She said I had sent her an email from my account telling her to meet me and that I was very desperate sounding. To this day, I have trust issues because I don't know who sent her the email. It was not in my sent folder, by the way. Got a voicemail from a Russian number. I check it and it's a faint recording of a woman crying and pleading for help. It was some real saw shit. Sounded like she was being tortured. It was extremely unnerving. So much so that it took me a few hours to think to Google foo the whole thing and look like it was a scam to trick people into calling back and getting exorbitant charges on their account. Would prefer to never get another one of those. At my first job back in high school, I had a coworker, let's call him Joe, who was a year or two younger than I was. Since I was a senior cashier, I was tasked with training him. We got along well, not in a romantic way, but in a friendly, we're in this together camaraderie kind of way. I never got any weird vibes from him or anything. We'd have nice chats whenever we worked together to pass the time, and that was that. I didn't think anything of it when he asked for my number either, because cashiers would always exchange numbers so that we could text or call one another in case we needed someone to cover our shifts or whatever. Well, the day after I gave Joe my number, I wake up and immediately get a text from him. It just says, "Good morning." Weird, but okay. The day after that though, I wake up and immediately get another text from him that says, "Good morning, how are you?" This continues for weeks. Sometimes I respond, but most of the times I don't because I'm so disturbed by the whole thing. He would literally send the text within a minute or two of me being awake, and it's not like I got up at the same time. I was a teen, so my sleep schedule was all over the place. I remember even checking the tree outside my window to see if he was somehow watching me or something, but I never saw anyone. I did always sleep with my phone by my bed, so maybe he bugged it somehow. So whenever I turned it on in the morning and started browsing social media in bed, he would know I was awake and send the text. Or maybe it was all a bizarre coincidence. Anyway, I left the job shortly thereafter, not because of him, but because I was starting college. We never really spoke after that, and eventually he got the hint and stopped texting me. Talk about creepy though. During COVID lockdown, I needed to find a roommate and had a WhatsApp video call with the guy about all the usual roommate questions, talking about the place, etc. Everything seemed okay, though he wasn't a personable person, kind of blank. As soon as the call ended, he sent me a bunch of pictures of him jacking off during our call that I couldn't see from the camera. It skeeved me out that I was there talking about the apartment and the landlord, and unknowingly this guy is stroking it. He must have totally loved that. When I was a teenager, Call of Duty ran some kind of advertising campaign by mail for a new release and sent out torn camo fabric with fake blood on it saying, "We need your help," or something along the line. Nothing else indicating it's supposed to be an ad. Took me a day or two to figure out WTF that was about, and my parents were not happy. A long time ago, I was a bit promiscuous in my youth. One night I wake up about 3 in the morning to my phone ringing. I don't know the number, but it's a local number. Before spam calls started using that, I answer, and it's a guy I was dating and fooling around with for a while. I remember him well, as he was the one that gave me mono. When I was younger, I was also an asshole. I would ghost people I'd been dating and sleeping with if I felt like it wasn't going to work out in the long run. At least that's what I told myself, but whenever I look back subjectively, I did it anytime someone felt attached to me. Anyway, so I answer the phone, and he tells me who he is. I said, okay, hi, what's up? He then proceeds to ask me all these weird questions about another guy that I had done the same thing with, who he knew nothing about and was before I had met him. It was a really weird and specific line of questioning, knowing all of these intimate details. Long story short, he revealed he and that other guy I ghosted ended up becoming a couple, and when talking about bad exes, they figured out they were both talking about the same person, being myself, and really felt the need to make me hear that. We ended up talking a lot as a group after that and hanging out, so that was strange. Ended up being a weird circle of events. Clean your life up. During the short time I was dating post-divorce, I went out with this guy who was a lawyer, very rude to almost everyone except me that night. I thanked him for dinner. The next day, when he reached out, I declined to see him again and wished him well. He promptly lost his shit. Sent me 3 long paragraphs that I wasn't going to read, a voice memo in which he yelled that he went to Yale and would sue me, and even later wrote a letter bitching me out. Poor dear hadn't been refused in life, apparently. I got a call from a New York City number in Mandarin. For context, I'm a white guy living in Western Pennsylvania. I played it into Google Translate, and it claimed to come from the Chinese embassy and talked about papers. My first thought was, oh crap, what did Grandpa do that China's calling me? When he was alive, he died several years before the call. He worked in China for a long time. A Google search revealed that it was a scam. The actual Chinese embassy website even had a reporting address to send reports of that scam going around. I filed a report and still have the voicemail. I have been getting voicemails from different numbers constantly, 4 to 5 times a week, and they're all just someone breathing into the phone. My mom thinks I'm just playing around with her because I have no evidence that it's happening because I can't save the message, and if I try to call the number back, it says it is an invalid number. Text was bad, but the context was worse. A guy I met at a friend's party tried to get with me. I got a text from him 2 months later with a picture of my house and car asking if it was mine. Made a police report, and the officer told me to be careful around him, that he has multiple pending charges against him for stalking and assault.